Statistics South Africa has finally conceded to inaccuracies in the 2022 census that cost taxpayers billions of rand. Now, according to the office, the SA Statistics Council advised it to make specific exclusions such as income and unemployment due to what it calls reporting and coverage biases. Now, our business reporter Ntokozo Khumalo is in studio here with us to help us understand exactly what this means, Ntokozo, for our country's ability to plan.
And exactly that's what the census gives the country the ability to do, to be able to plan the country's development.
Sorry, I'm going to interrupt you there just for 1 second because we'd also like to welcome the Statistician General. Of course. Risenga Maluleke is also here in studio with us, but we'll give our reporter, SG, a chance to outline some of the issues and then we'll bring you into the conversation.
Well, I'm always in the stats office with him, so understanding the importance of that data, Michelle, and usually when I am visiting the States General, it's for data such as GDP and so on. But the Census 22 report really gives an overlay of what's going on in the country when it comes to development, the rise of the population, issues such as labor, what's going on in the labor market and so on. And those are some of the, exclusions that have then been made to the 2022 census. And maybe just to give some, our viewers some insights on the census, as I said, painting that picture of where resources should be channeled. It assists governments to really ensure that there's fair distribution of government resources. So one of the main reasons why it's so important. But it also allows the private sector to do a market analysis and see for themselves as well where they can put in that investment, where they are likely to face challenges that they might need to invest a little more. And when we look back before democracy, of course, our data was not that great because of apartheid. We did have, surveys released or that census released 1980, 1985 and 1991, but was not, of course, a true reflection of what's going on. So since democracy, we've had, those census conducted 96, 2001, 2011. And it is costly. The price does tick up. We do have, some graphics that just indicates on how inflation has seen the price of conducting such a census, actually cost National Treasury. But the 2022 census, Michelle, COVID-19 pandemic did hit. The Stats Office did start planning in 2017 for it, but was, of course, interrupted by COVID-19. States General did want a delay, in that census, but National Treasury, of course, saying they can't roll over that budget. So that's when, online came in there, quite a bit spent on ensuring that people do hit the ground running. But issues in those four main areas being income, labor, water interruptions, and it is the quality of the data there and the responses that those field workers got there that is the point of contention, Michelle.
Well, let's bring in the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. Thanks, as always, for coming into studio. I mean, some of the census data is being described by critics. In fact, let me start here, Stats Gen. You were in studio with me some weeks ago, weren't you? Where we were talking about this issue around whether Census 2022 is fit for purpose. Some parts, as Ntokozo has told us, is now being described as incoherent, implausible. Do you still stand by the argument that it is fit for purpose?
Michelle, I need to start off by disabusing you by saying Statistician has finally considered that Census 2022 has problems. We have never considered. I'm the chief spokesperson of Statistician. I've never said that anywhere. And by now, I stand by the figures that we have made available. That one, we released Census 2022 results as of February 2022 and say there are 62 million people. And the majority of them are in Gauteng. And we are the ones who released the fact that the undercount, the high undercount that we have seen, we are the ones who released it. It's not like somebody else went to catch us. And the lowest was in the Free State, 20%, the highest in the Western Cape, 35%. And indeed, the national undercount was 31%. What we have done in the last 2 days is that we have released what we call a census in brief. And we have said certain data items we are not releasing. And it's not the first time. It's in line with best practice. We have done it in census 1996, 2001, 2011, and we are doing it again in 2022. Previously, we have said we are not releasing unemployment. Actually, the data on employment is best served by the quarterly labor force survey. Just last week, Ntokozo here, your colleague, was with us. We were releasing the quarterly labor force survey. It answers precise issues. It responds to precise issues. So that we have considered is not true. We stand by our data.
Right.
On issues of income that we're talking about, we were in the field last year, the whole of last year, income and expenditure survey, and we will make numbers on income and expenditure. As income and expenditure survey we have always conducted, living conditions survey we have always conducted. That helps us to map poverty. We have never used census data to map poverty. We have indicated, and Statistics Council, and I need to give them credit, that it is being said that they have said to us or forced the hand of the Statistician General. The Statistics Council gives advice to the Statistician General and to the Minister. One of the things they have said, Statistician General, on issues of mortality, first get the data that relates to your causes of data for 2022. And that's what we're busy with, because you will know we have released causes of data from Home Affairs since time immemorial. Every now and then we tell South Africans. But since COVID, we are still having tons and tons of records that haven't been moved to the central point or to the head office of Home Affairs to be passed to us. We cannot talk on mortality until we have such data. So this is a part and parcel of what we have done in previous censuses in terms of making sure that the numbers that we release can stand the test of time.
Right.
And any number that we have released to this day will stand the test of time.
So, Statistician, did your office say that important data, and it's the data that you've just addressed, the issues of income and earnings, labor and employment, mortality, fertility, that some data won't be released for official or public use because the collection process was flawed? Is that a true statement?
No. We have never said that. We have never issued such statements. We have gone to the census 2022 like we have done with all previous censuses. Despite the challenges that we have faced in the census, COVID-19, you and I seem to have forgotten that we used to walk around with masks. We have gone to field work in the middle of unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng. We've gone to the field in the middle of national disasters in the form of floods in KwaZulu-Natal, Mpumalanga, and the Western Cape. Despite these challenges, we released these numbers. And we have them now at national, at provincial, at municipal level. And as of end of September, we will release the numbers on ward level. Of course, we will look at the stability of those numbers. And where we can say that these wards we can't release, we will inform the public. That we have gone and said that the processes were flawed, that doesn't come from us. I've never said that. I'm the chief spokesperson of Statistician, and I'm here before you. I've never said that.
All right, Statistician, I'm going to ask you to stand by. When we come back, it's just gone 2:49. We're going to unpack the issue around whether you regret conducting the census during COVID-19. And then we'll also go back to the reason why you were here the last time, which was this report for the Medical Research Council by those two UCT demographers, Rob Dorrington and Tom Moultrie. That was the reason you came and spoke to us a few weeks ago, and we'll talk about what that report means and where it fits into these latest developments. You're live with us here on Daytime Update. Our reporter Ntokozo Khumalo is in studio with us alongside the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. This discussion continues. This is Daytime Update. We're talking all things Census 2022. Here at the round table is our reporter Ntokozo Khumalo. We're also joined by the Statistician General, Risenga Maluleke. Ntokozo, you've been covering the story. You've got some graphics to talk us through some of the data and some of the criticism of the data. Generally, and perhaps Statistician General, you'll be able to also answer this question. We've been talking about this 30% undercount for some time. Generally, in Ntokozo, in your coverage of the story, what kind of margin of error does exist for a census?
There is certainly some margin of error, and I think, you know, the critics do admit that, and it's a global issue where there will be, when collecting data, there will be a margin of error. But they're saying this margin is larger, is rather large when you compare to the 2011 census. So that is the issue, is the size of the margin of error and what that actually means. Because when we're talking about, you know, undershooting or overshooting by 1 million, that makes a difference. If a viewer can just take, you know, let's say Johannesburg, for example, and we say there are 1 million more people in Johannesburg than there really are, that affects how the resources are spread out, and other provinces perhaps not being able to get the same kind of resources. When we look to income disparities, that makes a difference to the kind of grants system and so on a particular province, and people might be able to benefit there. So it really does make a difference on how large that margin is. And I think that's probably some of the issues that then analysts do have. And I have pointed this question to, you know, the Stats General here. I think it was last year in August 2023, when some of the economists and analysts that I was speaking to, and it was on the back of Census 2022, but were questioning the numbers around unemployment, the quarterly labor force survey, of how accurate it actually is, especially when you consider things like work opportunities and so on. So a field worker might come out and I'm employed in the month that they interview me, but next month I'm not. So how then accurate is that data? So I think those are some of the issues. But of course, the response that the Stats General gave me at that time is he sticks to the numbers and did unpack, you know, how those numbers are worked out.
Statistician General, your comment on the margin of error?
Well, for starters, every country that conducts what we call a post-enumeration survey will be able to know how many people they have missed. It would be best if we were to get less than 5% as a nation or any other nation in the world. That's what the United Nations guidelines say, because then you don't have to adjust. And we are a member of that Commission of the United Nations. But in previous censuses, as South Africa, we have never gotten that. 1996, it was 9%. 2011, we were sitting at 14%. No, 2001 at 11%, 14% in, in 2011. Now, the one thing that we have 31% undercount, or the margin of error. If we went to sit and we didn't adjust, then it would be a problem. What we do as South Africa, like any other nation that performs censuses like us, in line with UN guidelines, is that we adjust for people that we have missed. So that we have missed, we went to about 17.9 million dwelling units. In some of them we found people, in some of them we didn't find people. And where you don't find people and we say we have missed 31% of the people, we adjust. So when we adjust for what the population estimate is.
Right.
So that should not be an issue because we have adjusted. One thing that I can tell you, we have counted 42 million people. And when we reached out to 42 million people, we adjust not only as a blanket, we look at the number of people we have missed as in male, female, younger people, in terms of geographic areas. And when we adjusted to 62 million, it's what the population estimate is.
Statistician, we've got less than 2 minutes left for our conversation. I want to ask you this. Unfortunately, we just won't get to all of the issues in this discussion, at least not on this program. Do you regret going ahead with Census 2022, given what was happening in our country, globally, COVID-19, natural disasters, etc.?
Michelle, we should not behave as if COVID-19 and unrest in KwaZulu-Natal and Gauteng, as well as natural disasters like rain and floods, were happening only in Stats SA. That we should come around and say, Stats SA must regret. Should we regret as the world that we didn't stop our lives when COVID-19 hit us? The fact that the whole world continued with its life and continued to do everything that we had to do, so is Stats SA. We went ahead and conducted a census rather than waiting for conducting a census in 2031. And in this regard, I have no regrets because we have come out as Stats SA and given an estimate of what the population is. So certainly, no regrets.
Statistician General Risenga Maluleke, just to be clear, also just making it absolutely clear that there is in no way a statement that's come from your office that you're acceding to inaccuracies, or you're saying that these stats numbers from 2022 are not fit for purpose. The Office of the Statistician General saying that they stand by the numbers from Census 2022. Our reporter Ntokozo Khumalo is also here in studio with us, and she'll, of course, give us a more detailed report. Am I making promises that...
And I'm looking forward to the National Poverty Lines Report 2024, so I suppose I will be seeing Stats General at the end of the month and make sense of this data. It's important data for the country, Michelle.
Thanks for coming into studio, Stats Gen. Great to talk to you.